So there's a series from whatculture.com, there's a YouTube channel, where they have a series called How Would You Have Booked It? And I'm going to take that concept here and use it for MLP. How would I have run MLP for no good reason? With the awesome and amazing obvious power of foresight. So if I had the book, the pen, the wheel, the means to craft MLP FIM, what would I change and what would stay? The good news is I do like the show and how it is now, and because of that there are some straightforward suggestions based on that. Number 1, Celestia and Luna would have more of a presence earlier on. Just off the top of my head, the Grand Galloping Gala is a nighttime event, and I think it only makes sense to have Luna running it. After being gone for 1,000 years, it would have made more logical sense that the place, proverbially that burnt the hell down, would have been run by Luna. Luna could have been too headstrong to have taken advice from her sister or her subjects, and Twilight could have been too nervous to correct her. Imagine that. And you can keep Celestia from looking too much like a stumblebum had they decided to do this idea. The suggestion isn't that Luna is a moron. Just after being done so long, it would have taken her some time to catch up and get back into the swing of things. If they would have started this earlier, we could have had Luna thinking that the whole event was a giant success, with Celestia waking up, giving a sorrowful head shake that promises that one day that road where she winds up bumping heads with her sister is one that her and the fans collectively all get to continually sit down, where we have continuity, foreshadowing, and we could have included the characters that had been there since the beginning. Number 2, if we had Luna running the gala, the next day it could have been the episode The Return of Harmony. It would also explain why Luna wouldn't be there, she'd be asleep. But as cute as funny as it is having the CMC freeing Discord, wouldn't it have made more dramatic sense if the gala's chaos woke up Discord? I mean seriously, in 1,000 years, no little kids fought around the Discord statue, especially when it's open to school tours. Imagine if Luna found out that she was the reason why Discord woke up. It would explain why she actually goes out of her way not to be on screen with him. It could simply be a matter of guilt. Number 3, make Discord at some point in time responsible for magical mystery cure. Sure, I understand that season 3 was strapped for room and time, and let's assume that there was no way to make 22 minutes into 44. Via flashbacks somewhere along the line, Twilight's ascension was in part Discord's meddling. Considering the spell itself is very chaotic in nature, it hardly makes a lot of sense, and many fans have come to grips with it being part of some master plan. What better scapegoat would there have been than, say, Discord? Number 4, no goddamn cadence, and Shining Armor is being foreshadowed just a skosh earlier. The wedding itself is entirely unnecessary. I know what you're gonna say. Well, how else are they going to introduce the changelings? Well, why do you need the wedding? I mean, why can't Twilight and her friends be called in to investigate some kind of disturbance, some threat to Canterlot? You could put the focus on Celestia and or Luna. Hear me out. What if Luna or Celestia were Chrysilius instead? Let's go with Luna being the fake. Simply because I can't see Luna putting up with Tia's bullshit if she started to act like a massive bitch out of nowhere. Whereas Luna being a douche with her lack of social skills might be able to make it a lot more surprising when it turns out to be someone else. I know what you're thinking. If we do that FNGR, what about season 3? What if we needed to set up Flurry Heart? What about the Crystal Castle? So this is how we're going to do number 5. Remember that badass alternative reality where Celestia's forces are fighting Sombra's at the end of season 5? There's an idea. You need a castle to sell? It's Sombra's. And we can have Twilight move into it after Sombra's vanquished. Or maybe later on we could have had Twilight move into Luna's abandoned old castle in season 4. Either would have worked. As for needing Cadence or Flurry Heart, number 1, we don't. There are 2 alicorn princesses in the toy line that never saw the show. Number 2, I'm not against getting more alicorns. Hell, when Starlight Glimmer said, I can assume you're a princess, I kinda wanna see a pony nation that isn't on good terms with Equestria. Maybe the zebras. Speaking of which, number 6. I would cut one of the crap episodes, maybe Spike at Your Service or the Breezy episode, for an episode to take a look at the zebra homeland. I also would have skipped on making Zecora 50 Cent. The writers seem reluctant in wheeling out the character just because they have to make her rhyme everything. The sooner they would have cut back on that, the more that they could have used the character. Number 7, we could have had Diamond Tiara's mom showing up earlier. She could have been behind Flim and Flam, trying to impose themselves over the apples. I mean, it's not like you learned anything in that episode anyway. With Spoiled Rich being introduced earlier and a reveal on whose mom she is, it would have had more weight and it would have been more interesting when she showed up in season 5. She showed up, she killed DT's character for the most part. With Spoiled Rich trying to cheat the apples, you could have had a rogues gallery of villains arching the Apple family. Imagine if the vampire bats were put there, if they were magically enchanted in the first place, and that would have made more sense than Fluttershy just not being able to ask them to leave. Include Sunset Shimmer in MLP Fim, even if only in a flashback. Or hell, a permanent add-on. Keep in mind, the pony world and the human world, there's an opposite version for everyone. If you haven't heard the meme, Sunset killed her human counterpart, and that's why there's only one of her, well, there you have it now. If we could have a science Twilight, and allowing pony Twilight to go home, well, you could easily have done the same for Sunset. Remember the massive ass pull when the show turned Sunset from a bitch on wheels to a cinnamon roll? If that was the original human Sunset Shimmer lumped in for, I guess, all the pony's sins, that would have explained why she was able to just take it without firing back. Because maybe that version isn't used to being a total jackass. But how to bring her in? Remember Sunburst? Trick question, of course you don't. Judging by how often he shows up, the writers just don't really either. What if Glimmy's childhood friend had been Sunset? Imagine the pop you would have got from fans when Starlight had her flashback, and you would have saw a Sunset there. It would have been the reason why, oh look, my friend that abandoned me is somebody the audience already knows. The show staff seems to struggle with male to female friends on the show who aren't related, presumably for shipping reasons. You could cut out some of the weaker episodes in season 6. Like say Cart Before the Ponies or potentially Pony Point of View, and you could have had a series of girls from Starlight to Sunset to Luna or Trixie helping Starlight adjust to her reformed life, the temptation of doing things the safe and easy way. Hell, that could have been a Discord episode. Imagine that. We could have that instead of What About Discord. Number 9. Spike did such a wonderful job guiding Starlight in Season 6's intro. I think I would have cut Spike's childish side entirely, or at least as much as possible. I mean, if anything, you could have had Celestia sticking Spike with Twilight because of maybe some inherent guidance. Maybe she saw something special in the character. I mean, the map sure gave Spike a throne. He's clearly destined in the plot proper. I'm kind of guessing that that's never going to amount to anything in the show. Did Twilight need to be the one watching Applejack's barn and say, Applejack's day off? I mean, Spike literally could have grown into Twilight's role that Twilight's doing for Celestia. The student. I mean, it's stated Twilight isn't Spike's mom, so what is he? He's not family. You're not going to tell me he's a pet. It wouldn't have taken too much to say Spike's already serving Celestia before Twilight showed up. Maybe just have changed the magical feat that Twilight had to perform to impress Celestia. With all the magic Twilight's done throughout the show, from book walking to time travel to bending the powers cosmic, it shouldn't have been that impossible for the writers to give Twilight a different wow moment besides hatching an egg. So Spike could show up slightly more on the ball than Twilight. I mean, dragons mythologically age slower. Having him hatched doesn't mean he still wouldn't be young. Also, I think it's a mistake to call him a baby dragon. He walks, he talks, he has logical functioning thought. I understand that Fluttershy calling him a baby dragon was super adorable and all, but simple math, the cutie marks typically are picked up in the teenage years. The show staff have said that the main 6 are between the ages of 16 and 24. That would make Spike roughly 11 years tops. Then again, with dragon aging, I guess that could still be a baby dragon. You know what? No, let's not try and establish age. Moving right along. Number 10. I would not have reformed all the changelings. Thorax went from being special to being, well, kinda bland. Imagine if there had only been one good changeling. They milked that for one episode. Did you notice the changelings didn't have any free will in being reformed or not? Remember when all the analysts were horrified about reformation spells and keep calm and flutter on? That fucking happened to a whole race and nobody said a damn thing. What needed to happen was, we needed to have at least 1 or 2 changelings, presumably with names, one obviously pro-status quo, which could have just as easily been Chrysilius, except it would have been a lot harder to have the good guy stand up when their opposition would have literally been the queen. The pro-status quo person would have had to probably been someone in Chrysilius's army. So when Thorax tried to change everyone, you could have had someone who accepted it and then the others straight up terrified at what they were becoming. You cannot blast your morality onto people, and certainly not en masse. the changeling ideology is incompatible with the pony lifestyle, and to assume otherwise you'd end up with a bunch of refugees just like that, and to assume that everything would be neato mosquito is dangerous and unrealistic. It's a horrible message to send to kids. It's bullshit, and it's bad for you. If the ponies did take in the changelings, there should at the very least have been, well, I don't know, a friendship problem? A single, solitary, minuscule, teeny-weeny friendship problem that just taking in wave after wave of refugee of a race that doesn't have anything in common with ponies would create no problems whatsoever, that certainly wouldn't be compatible with anything going on in the real world? Just a little bit? If we take the show's canon and the new changelings are, well, more behaved than, say, the ponies, that's horseshit. Agree? Disagree? I'd love to hear it down below. Like if you liked, downvote if you didn't.